Hi, I'm Michael from Hummingbot Foundation. Hummingbot is an open source project that helps you build and run crypto trading bots that run on both centralized and on decentralized exchanges. So you may have heard of us as a tool you can use for market making, but in the last couple of years, especially after we launched the Hummingbot Foundation, it really became a community-based DAO. Hummingbot has turned into more of a generalized framework, with a very modular architecture that really allows you to add any exchange connector and write any strategy. Arbitrage, market making, utility strategies, really anything you think of. And so I wanted to show you some of that in the latest version, 1.10. So first, I'll take you through the user interface. I'll show you how it is laid out. Next, I'll show you how to add a centralized exchange connector, a decentralized exchange connector, and then we'll run some strategies and scripts and really show off what you can do with this tool. All right, well, let's get started. First, let me give you a quick tour of the Hummingbot user interface. So over here on the left-hand side, we have our input pane and our output pane. So this is where you type commands like help. So help will show you all the various commands here. So you can connect to an exchange, create a bot, see your balance, start and stop a bot, and other ones like that. Over here on the left is your log pane. So anything, if you're running a bot, this is where the messages displays are. Think of this kind of like the console log in your browser. So so one thing it's telling me is it can't, when it's testing the exchange connectors, it had a problem connecting to FTX. And that's because today is, let's see, November 13th, 2022. And so it's only a few days after FTX blew up. So so over here, let's do the connect command. And then this will tell me basically what all the various exchanges available to connect to are. And these are all the central exchange connectors that Hummingbot has. Some are perpetual and some are spot. So the ones that have underscore perpetual are the perpetual, connected to the perpetual futures markets. The testnet ones are the testnets, of course. So you can see that we really connected a lot of different centralized exchanges now. And every release, people can add more as well. So and then finally, let's see, we can also do the balance command. The balance command, excuse me, yeah, there you go. The balance command will show you your balances across the different exchanges that you have connected to. So I currently have a couple of centralized exchange connectors, and a couple of decentralized exchange connectors over here. So finally, I can also check, let's see, the gateway. So gateway is the DEX connector module. So let's check the status of gateway. And yep, it looks like it can connect. Currently, it can find, it's connecting using Anchor. So it's using these two different node services, these two different nodes, and it's connecting to both the Ethereum mainnet chain and the Polygon chain as well. So let's go ahead and add a couple of exchange connectors to see how that works. So let's first add a centralized exchange connector. So I already have KuCoin, and so let's say I wanted to re-add the KuCoin connector. So I could say, I could replace it, and then if I did that, then I would just add the API key, the secret, and the passphrase again. So basically, these are defined in the API settings for each exchange. I'm not going to do it now because I don't want to risk exposing my private keys, or API keys. But if you did want to do that, it's pretty easy to do so. So I'll just hit no here. Then if you want to add a decentralized exchange connector, you would do something similar, where you can say gateway connect. And then this will show you the list of the decentralized exchange connectors available in Hummingbot. So currently we have a few of these different exchanges. So let's actually add this one. And I'm going to add, let's see, the gateway connector on Ethereum. So this is basically which chains, underlying L1 chains you want to add. So right now we have Uniswap deployed on these two, but as Uniswap gets added to other chains, it's pretty easy to add those as well because we already have the class available. So once I've selected the chain, I also need to pick which network on the chain I need to connect with. So I already have mainnet here. So let's go ahead and add, let's see, how about Arbitrum? So yes, so I'll use Anchor. So we use Anchor as the default node provider because it doesn't require API keys. However, if you wanted to add Infura, it's very easy to do so by using a configuration, configuring gateway to use your Infura node instead. So let's go ahead and use Anchor. And then this way, I'm going to use one of my existing wallets to connect to this network so that I don't need to re-enter the private key. So let's see what it says. I'll use this one. This is the one I've already added. And then now I can connect this node. This client can also connect to Arbitrum as well. So if I do balance, it should show me basically my balance across the two centralized exchanges, and now kind of like the three chains, and basically use up on each one. All right, now let's get to the fun part and actually run a live trading bot. First, use the create command in order to create a new strategy. So it's going to walk you through answering some very basic questions, and then afterwards you'll save the configuration. You'll basically save a config file that you can load and then run later on. So the first question is what your market making strategy is. So these are all defined in our open source code base or contributed by the community. And the one we're going to use is pure market making. This happens to be our kind of the flagship strategy that everyone starts with. And it's basically going to just put orders on order book and maintain them as the market price moves around. There's a bunch of parameters here, but you can see how all of them and what they are in the Hummingbot documentation. So first, let's pick the exchange. Let's go with KuCoin since I have that exchange connected. But as you can see, there's many possible ones. There's also paper trade versions of some of the exchanges available. So if you may want to start with that, I will use the real one because I want to show you what it looks like on the exchange as well. So the next one is the trading pair. So let's define the trading pair to be ETH USDT. And now we're going to set the spreads for orders. So ETH is a pretty tight market. So I'm actually going to set some pretty tight spreads here because we might get lucky and actually get some fills. And I want to show you, how that what actually looks like, from the Hummingbot interface. So let's actually set 0.1. And then I'll set spreads tight there as well. And then I'll try to cancel my orders every 15 seconds to show some activity. Because I don't want to lose too much money for market making. Market making is definitely an art. It's not easy. So I'll use a very small amount of ETH. And finally, there's a basic risk management feature called ping pong where it alternates buy and sell orders, and I'll turn that off for now. And I can save that configuration and use the import command later on to bring it back. Before I start, let me show you the config command, which you can use to edit both the global configurations as well as the strategy-specific ones. So here, I'm going to change one parameter called filled order delay, which basically means after a filled order, the bot will wait 60 seconds before placing a new one, which is kind of just to make sure you're not kind of constantly filling orders when the market is going one direction, like too fast. So I'm actually going to turn that off for the purpose of this demo. So I'll just do config filled order delay. I'll change that to something lower, like 5 seconds. So now that we've now we can actually start the bot. So let's use a start command for that. So now Hummingbot is making some basic checks and connecting to the KuCoin order book, and now it's created a buy order and a sell order. And you can use the status function command to see what it looks like on the exchange. So now it says we've connected to KuCoin. These are assets on KuCoin. And these are the two orders that we have created. But as you can see, because we're refreshing these orders every 15 seconds, the bot has already created new ones over here. We can also see what this looks like on the KuCoin side. So let's go over there. And as you can see, these are the 2 orders that we currently have on the books. There's some but here you can also see the spread is here. So there's some information here that we have that the exchange doesn't have, but it's always useful to look at the exchange, keep this window open, so you can see what the bot's doing on the exchange as well as in the Hummingbot interface. So let's try to actually adjust our spreads and try to get some fills, in this market. So I can do that by using the spreads command. This is actually a custom command that someone added. It's actually pretty easy to add your own commands here as well. But I'm going to set this to even higher. So I'll use spread 0.05. Oops, let's see, how do we actually use this? So it's always good to look at the help. Okay. First I do the bid and the ask spread. That makes sense. So let's do like this. Okay. I would also help if I type that correctly. Okay. So now bid and ask will be set at 0.05 instead. And so let's see. Indeed, the spreads are set actually tighter than they were before. So let's give it just a while and see if we actually get some orders filled. There's one. Here's a sell order that was filled. When you get a fill, you're going to see a message pop up here. Oh, here's another one that was filled. And looks like we actually did make a small amount of money on this one because the second buy order occurred at a lower price than the sell order. So you always want to buy low and sell high. Once you have some fills, you can use the history command in order to see the performance so far. The history command tells you the number of trades you've done, the volume, your change in your asset balances, and your performance. Kind of comparing where you started to where you are right now. Now, I'll be losing money in this market because I'm not. My fee level, my VIP fee level, is not as low or not as high, I guess, than the big market makers on KuCoin. And ETH USDT is also a very liquid market. So ideally, I should only be competing in this market if I have a really high VIP tier, or if I don't, I should be looking at a smaller pair on this exchange. So that's why I'm going to stop this bot before I lose too much money, and I'll just use a stop command to do that. So now we can look at the final history for that. I ran this bot for just about 7 minutes. Sold a lot of ETH. Bought one. Let's see. And then luckily because I was using a very small amount of ETH, 0.01. I didn't really change my portfolio much. But if you wanted to make a lot of changes, there's many things you can change, like using a different source for your price, either using the last trade price, even using the price from a different exchange, or using inventory skew, hang orders, or other ways to control for risk. All right, now that you've seen how the basic market making strategy works, let's check out a strategy that uses a decentralized exchange connector. So I'm going to use the create command again and use AMM-Arb, which is a strategy that will try to find arbitrage between a CEX and a DEX. So I'll use Uniswap Polygon for the first one, and then the ETH USDC pair there. And then I'll use KuCoin for the second exchange and the Tether pair there. There's a small amount for testing purposes. And for profitability, this will take into account both gas fees as well as exchange fees. So you only make a trade if the net profit is 1% or more. I will add a couple slippage buffers to make sure that the trades go through. And finally, I can select whether to place the trades concurrently or sequentially. So I'll do sequentially because blockchain transactions have a higher chance of failure. So for the gateway strategies, it adds a final check to make sure you have the right chain, network, etc. And then just hit yes to continue. And now the bot will start connecting to KuCoin and Polygon and look for arbitrage opportunities. So currently, looks like there is no arbitrage opportunity, which is a very normal case, and it's going to continue to pull for chances to buy low and sell high every few seconds. So and if you want, you can also set your configuration to a lower minimum profitability if you want to try to get a fill more easily. You can also set this even to a negative number, even. So now let's actually try that. We'll stop a bot and we'll configure the min profitability. And I'm going to actually make that a much lower, let's say negative 0.1%. And so we can see if we can get a trade to go through. Well, looks like the mark's widened a little bit. So now even the negative was 0.01 isn't being hit. But let's see how it goes and see if a trade actually happens. You can also use a status command, just like other strategies, to see how it's going. So note that right now it's actually using the rate oracle to get the calculation to figure out the rate between USDC and USDC. You can actually configure this with the rate oracle source, and so right now, if you look at the configs, I'm actually using KuCoin for the rate oracle, so that it can find the right one. So right now, still no arbitrage. So let's set that lower and see if we can get a real trade going. So let's set min profitability even lower to negative 0.2, and I'll take a hit for the purposes of this demo. All right. So let's see if a trade happens now. Oh, there we go. So it found one opportunity, and so it's gonna basically place its trade. It says now see it's bought and sold on Polygon and KuCoin. So after it completes one arbitrage cycle, there's a small delay, and then it's going to kick off a new cycle and try to find another arbitrage opportunity again. So see, looks like it. Yeah, I think that one. Let's see, there's 2 trades now. So now it's on 2 trades, and now I'm going to stop this before I lose too much money. So as you can see here, once it finds a transaction that's higher than the min profitability, it's automatically going to execute. So you make sure you want to set that correctly. And so we've done 2 trades on the Polygon side and 2 trades now on the KuCoin side. Finally, let's go through one of the most exciting developments of Hummingbot lately, which is the new scripts feature. You see, since we started, we found that the folks who've had the most success with Hummingbot have really been the ones that customized the strategies instead of running the fixed ones that the open source code base ships with. So a few months ago, we started to create a new thing called scripts, which are basically very light versions of strategy contained in a single Python file. And so it's really easy for you to digest, understand what it does, and then hopefully extend it. We've created a number of examples already that are in the open source code base. And so if you hit start -- script, you'll see all the examples in the scripts folder, and so as soon as you hit enter, it will run one of these scripts. So I prepared one already, which is the simple cross-exchange market making example, and this is a simplified version of one of the most popular strategies we have, which is one that places liquidity on one exchange and hedges when any filled orders on another exchange. So before we actually dive into the strategy itself, let's take a look at what that script actually looks like in the code. So over here, see, I have the actual script itself in Visual Studio Code. This was actually created as a part of our Botcamp course, which teaches people how to create these types of scripts using Hummingbot. So I define a couple of variables here. The maker exchange, where I'm going to set my trades, set my orders, and the taker exchange, where if anything is filled, I'm going to hedge over there. So here I'm basically setting the parameters in the code. So the order amount, the spread in basis points, which is the spread here is basically this strategy will actually look at the price on Binance, the taker exchange, and add a spread, this spread, before placing those orders on the maker exchange. And finally, the max order age will refresh orders every 10 seconds, and if the spread between the maker exchange and the taker exchange dips below 5 basis points, the bot will automatically refresh those orders. And all the logic of this strategy is really contained in this ontick file, and we've really set this up so that anyone with a very basic understanding of Python can digest it, because it's using a lot of the helper methods that are defined in this base class. And now, and the rest of the code, honestly, is really just handling the different events and also defining a custom view in the status. Because I don't want to just use the stock view. As a trader, I want to track my own metrics to know how well the strategy is doing. So now that, and so this will add essentially a custom exchanges table and a custom active orders table to the status command. And that's really it. And so it's 200 lines of code, which isn't small, but I think it's something that anyone can really, with a basic development background, can look at and understand in less than an hour. And what we found is if you have the confidence to run a strategy yourself, you can tweak it, you can extend it, and you're likely to be more successful making money from it. So now let's go and take a look at how the script actually runs. So to run the script, just type start dash script and the name of the script file, which is located in the scripts directory in the Hummingbot root directory. So once it starts, it's going to read from that file, and it's going to connect to both the KuCoin and the Binance order books, and it'll place that order. And so you can type the status command to see what it's doing, and observe that this exchanges table is different from the standard one, and so is the active orders table. And the reason I did this is because this tells you some more information. So I defined something called buy spread and sell spread, which I defined as like the spread between Binance and KuCoin, these two venues. And then you can also see, based on the orders you've placed, the spread of each order to the bid price, and how many basis points it would have to move before you canceled and replaced the order. And recall that the max order age here was 10 seconds, which is why it's going to keep on canceling these orders and refreshing them all the time. So in some ways, this is a simplified version of our cross-exchange market making strategy, but we found that because the normal one has gotten really complex with lots of parameters, it's pretty intimidating for new folks. And so we kind of recommend that people start with this one to really get an intuition for how market making works and hedging across different exchanges. And you may want to extend this one instead of just using the one over there. One of the great things about scripts is that they're really easy to change on the fly. And so because they're pure Python, you can just go into the file here and make any changes you want, as long as the bot's stopped. And then once you start it again, it'll reflect those changes. So let's widen the spread to 50. Let's assume that you're being conservative. Maybe the market's a little choppier, and you want to make sure that your bot is going to widen their spreads. So I'll just change it to 50 over here, and just run the same command again. And now it will place spreads at 50 basis points instead of the tighter ones it did before. So you can see that now spread mid price is 50. So I hope that gives you a brief intro into how Hummingbot works, both from adding connectors, running strategies and scripts. As I mentioned before, we're starting to really work with our community to teach them to get the most out of Hummingbot. And that's why we're starting a developer bootcamp called Botcamp. And because Hummingbot's pretty complex, we want to make sure we can deliver the highest quality course possible. We're limiting each cohort at 20 participants for now. It runs for 4 weeks, and we do a lot of hands-on guidance to make sure that every student can actually create their own custom strategy during the course. And if they are successful in doing so, they get a chance to win some HBOT rewards, as well as they getting a nifty NFT certificate. So overall, I hope you like this demo of Hummingbot. I wanted to really show off all the stuff we've added in the last few releases, and you can see what's doing now. We can see that all the orders is placed in KuCoin here, in here as well. But yeah, I really want to show off this new version of Hummingbot, because I think that we've really added a lot of stuff in the last few months, and really kind of starting to become a true community-based project where people can contribute different connectors, different strategies, and really help improve the usability and quality of the overall code base. Thanks a lot.